What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? So look, these July premieres just keep dropping. We've got a new Family or Fiancé. And last night was technically the sneak peek, but we just gonna go ahead and go through it. They showed me the whole episode, so why not review the whole episode? So let me get my notes, because I had to take notes, child. Had to take notes for these people. Okay. So the couple is Amani and Kobe. Kobe is a teacher. I don't remember if they ever told us what Amani does for a living, child, but Kobe's a teacher. And let me be clear. I was a little nervous and I was a little afraid by the end of this episode that Kobe is in somebody's classroom teaching people. But I'm going to get there for a second. They met on Bumble. Now that's interesting because we find out later on. Look, this review might just be all over the place. I'm just going to tell you that now. We find out later on that Amani told her family that they met at a club, because she said that she felt like it was embarrassing to tell people that they met on Bumble. Now, I do remember a time where people might have been a little embarrassed to say they met on a dating app. But hell, half the people I know met on dating apps. I had people who've been married, got families, and all kinds of stuff, and they met on dating apps. Like, that's just the way we communicate these days. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And I have a friend who lied to her family about how she met her at the time fiance. And I just remember thinking, if you gotta lie about how you met this person, like, that just made me feel some kind of way. So I don't know. There is a 7-year age difference. He's 32. She's 25. That may or may not be, that may or may not be a big thing, child. That may or may not be a big thing. And they are atheists. Now, here's what's interesting about the whole atheist thing. Kobe was already questioning his spirituality when he met Amani. Amani became atheist after studying with him while he was questioning his faith. Now, both of them grew up in the church. Amani grew up Seventh-day Adventist. He grew up, he didn't say what denomination, but his grandfather was a bishop. His father was a pastor. And sounds like his uncle or somebody was a pastor. So very much in the church. Both of them very spiritual. Now, I have friends who have gone through phases and have questioned faith and everything. And his reason for questioning faith was, it went back to slavery, where he was like, why would God do that to his own people? And I'm not going to get into a whole thing on spirituality, because everybody feels how they feel. But I just think that's an oversimplistic way to look at it. But again, I don't want to get too deep into it. That's his reasoning. And, she said on their first date or something like that, when she asked to bless the food, he started questioning her about, you really believe that somebody's going to come down here and make sure that our food is safe and protect us, or something crazy like that? I don't know. But see, my answer to him would have been, yeah. And I'll just bless mine. How about that? But whatever. That's going to be an issue. There are two things that are really big issues with this family. That's one of them. So we'll definitely get back to the spirituality thing. Kobe's family is his brother, his sister, and his cousin. Amani's family is her mother, her sister, and her cousin. Okay. Now, I always tell y'all this. I'm always very interested when we don't see a lot of the parents. Now, Amani's mother's there, but we don't see Kobe's parents. Now, okay. It seems like both families showed up with already some preconceived notions about some things. I feel like Kobe's family, well, at least his cousin, let's start with a D, showed up with a definite point of view, and her sister, Amani's sister, showed up with a very definite point of view. So they both, I feel like, walked into this with ideas. The family issues are the fact that they feel like they're moving too fast, that they're doing a lot of this is going too fast, and the fact that they've lost their spirituality. Both families have an issue with that. Okay. So, the task at hand are, Amani's going to cook dinner. She's going to go to the grocery store and go shopping with his family, and then they're going to cook dinner together. And then Kobe's task is he going to do the Tower of Truth with them, which is basically like a Jenga game where they get the right questions, and as they're going through the Jenga game, they answer the questions. And we find out from the beginning, we find out that Kobe is I'm going to use the word arrogant. Very arrogant, in my opinion. Very much, this is how I feel. And he's one of those people, some people have definite opinions and they're cool with the banter. They like the debate. They like the back and forth. But at the end of it, they're okay walking away with you not agreeing with them. Then there are people who like the back and forth because they want to beat you down to the point where you believe what they believe. To me, Kobe is the latter. He wants to convince you that he's right and you're wrong. And if you don't acquiesce to that, then he's going to either keep going or have an attitude. So that's my main impression of Kobe. My impression of Amani is someone who doesn't know who she is. And so it was very easy for him to tell her who she should be. And I think that her family is right to be concerned about that. Because, like the spirituality piece. First of all, if I met a guy and he told me on our first date or second date that he wasn't spirit, that he didn't believe in God, that probably would be our last date. Because from the beginning, we're not equally yoked. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is, I'm not judging you for being an atheist. Because I ain't got no heaven or hell to put nobody in. But I know that your belief and my belief does not meet. And if you are dating to get married, you know what I'm saying? If the purpose of dating is for you to find your life mate to get married, there's no way we will ever be on the same page. And what I'm not interested in doing is trying to change your mind. Like you are who you are. You believe what you believe, and I'm not. That ain't my job to change your mind. And so it bothered me that she was so easy to question her faith after one or two dates. The flip side is she said that she already was sort of, questioning her faith. And I think we all go through a moment of that. I think we all have a crisis of faith. I think we do. But to get to the point where you go from A to Z in less than, I don't even think they've been dating 2 years, that's a lot. But that's my opinion. So when she went out with his family to go grocery shopping, of course they asked her about the faith because they sort of had the idea that she was already in a crisis when they started dating. But come to find out, she really wasn't. Like, she was fine with her spirituality until they met. I know I just said something totally different, but that's what she started. Again, you can see how her story starts evolving. You know what I'm saying? When he was meeting with her family, again, that's when they found out about the lie about how they met. And of course, that made them kind of take pause. Like, well, why would she lie to us about how y'all met? And then we found out there was this situation with the teeth. Okay. They went out on a date. It was on their second date. He said to her, would you ever consider getting dental work? That would bring your points up. You would go up a few points if you got your teeth fixed. She went out and got her teeth fixed. Like a week or so later, next thing you know, she got braces. Now, she had a conversation with her sister later on in the episode where she said, well, I have been thinking about getting my teeth fixed anyway. Her sister said, yes, but you've been thinking about it for 5 years. What is it about what he said that made you run out and do it? Now, let's be clear. Her teeth were jacked up. As soon as her teeth were jacked up. But if I went out on a date with somebody, and again, if on our second date, he says to me, would you get your teeth fixed? And what Terry asked them was, if she had said no, would y'all still be together? And he said no, he said no, I wouldn't. It was only our second date. He didn't say this, I'm adding to this. It was only their second date. He clearly wasn't attracted to her mouth, and it was a deal breaker for him. Here's my thing. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be mad at him for having a taste and a preference. My thing is, did you not see that her teeth were jacked up on your first date? But again, there was something that he liked about her. He just didn't like some of her physical appearance. Now, this is what I'm going to say. Again, I put that back on Imani. If I went out on a date with a guy, he said to me, you know, if you lost 50 pounds, girl. If I immediately made a appointment to go get liposuction, I think that says more about me than it says about the person. Like, yeah, it might be real insensitive of you to ask me that, and it might be real disrespectful for you to ask me that. But the fact that I was so quick to do it, again, they hadn't been dating for a couple of months. They hadn't really got to know each other. It was a second date. And even if she had said, well, you know, that is something I've been thinking about doing, and she continued to do whatever it was her process. But the fact that she ran right out and did it, I don't know. I understand where her sister was coming from, because her sister had a real problem with that. And again, his family and he and his family kept making it seem like, why are we arguing about braces? Y'all don't get the deeper meaning of that. It's not the braces. It's the fact, one, that was a rude thing for him to say to her. But again, I think their issue should be more with Imani and not with him. Yeah, let me say, I wasn't crazy about Kobe. Let me just be clear. I wasn't. But on that one, yes, I think it was rude of him to ask. And I think it was a little, disrespectful for him to come out his mouth the way he did. But I have to put more on Imani and say, are you bending? Like, when you meet a guy, are you bending to what you think this guy wants? Or are you standing strong in who you are? And at 25 years old, you don't have to have all the answers, but then maybe you're not ready to get married. You know what I'm saying? So they had dinner, and of course they had that whole conversation, and he got irritated and she got irritated. But see, she got irritated because her ass kept getting caught in lies. Her family realized that she had been lying to them about stuff. Then the next day, Terry sent her and her sister out had some girl time, because one thing he brought up was, she says that she doesn't get a chance to talk around you, that you monopolize the conversation and it's always about you. And she did actually articulate that to her sister. They went to the beach, and the sister she said, I received that, and I will try to work on that. And she started to say, but, and I was getting ready to say, don't but, just agree, just say you're going to work on it. But then she caught herself. She did catch herself, but she started to say, but she did catch herself. But she then said, it's really important for Cole and my sister to get along. Like, I didn't realize how important it was for me to have my family's blessing until we got here. And so she asked Cole to have a conversation with the sister. And Cole was like, I'm going to do whatever you need me to do. Like, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. But then they had the conversation, and I was like, no, that ain't sweet. That's not sweet. He talked to the sister. And the sister said, basically, I feel the same way today that I felt yesterday. And do y'all know that this mofo had the nerve to quote scripture at her? How you gonna see? You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say you atheist and then you want to throw scripture at me because you want to try to tell me that because I believe in God, I'm supposed to believe in A, B, C, D. And he threw some scripture at her about, because remember, he did grow up in the church, so he knows the Bible. He threw scripture at her about how basically every day you're supposed to start fresh. And he was like, how can you call yourself a Christian, a spiritual person, and the Bible says that you're supposed to start every new day afresh, but you telling me that you carrying some same energy from last night? And I appreciate the fact that she told him that she didn't appreciate the fact that he was throwing scripture at her as someone who you don't subscribe to it, so why are you throwing it at me? And then she said, and I said what I said, I feel the way I felt last night. Like, I'm not saying that I'm not giving, I'm sitting here talking to you. So obviously I'm open to hearing what you have to say. But as of right now, I feel the same way I felt yesterday about you. I said, you better let him know. And see, I think he's used to over talking people. I think he's used to using that like condescending bullshit. And he's used to people sort of bending to his will. And that's the part that I said worries me about him being in a classroom. And again, I'm not out. He might be the best teacher ever. But I also know that depending on what level, what grade, and what subject he's teaching, it's you have to kids have to feel comfortable in sharing their thoughts. I mean, some things, facts are facts are facts. I get that, but there are some things that kids they have to feel comfortable in saying, well, this is how I feel, or this is how I don't know. I'm just a little nervous about that. But needless to say, that conversation did not end well. Okay. And when the sister, was it his sister or his cousin? Was it his sister? I gotta go back and look at my list. No, it was his sister. She got mad and she kind of went off. And again, I do agree with some of what she said about, she was like, this more on Amani. She's like, why are we still talking about braces and teeth? But again, it was the bigger picture of the braces and the teeth. That was the example, but that wasn't the problem. And of course, she was like, well, I mean, that's just how he talks. And I mean, so what he said that, like, it's not a big deal. Like, everybody has their preference. Everybody has their taste. And she's correct. Everybody has a preference. Everybody has a taste of what they like and what they don't like. But it also becomes a concern or an issue when you start getting into you're asking someone to change. Like, you met her. It'd be different if y'all met on a blind date. Like, you met her, you saw pictures of her before you agreed to go out with her. You went out with her once, and then on the second date, now you want to change everything. I don't know. I felt a little weird about that whole situation, but I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. So anyway, it came down to the blessing ceremony, and his family blessed it. They were like, sure, we good, we cool. Her cousin said yes, but her mother and sister said no. Now, they were supposed to get married in January of 2020, but they were just going to go to the Justice of the Peace. They hadn't decided whether they was going to invite the family or not. I'll be interested to see their to see their one, whether they actually got married or not, and two, where they are now. I'll be interested for where they are now. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.